Now though, the chances are you've picked up the phone at some point only to be greeted with a stony silence. Often you're being phoned by a company call centre using automatic dialling.
Yeah, and if there aren't enough staff on hand to speak to you, then they talk to somebody else and the call to you stays silent. Well, the government is now threatening fines of up to £2 million for firms who make those kind of nuisance calls. And we're joined by John Price now, who's the head of the Direct Marketing Association. John, why does this happen? We've had so many emails and texts from people today whose lives are blighted by this almost on a daily basis.
I know, it's been a big problem. And actually we welcome at the DMA, the Direct Marketing Association, we welcome anything the government can do to alleviate some of the anxiety that perhaps the old or the vulnerable may feel with silent calls. And they indicated last year with Barclaycard that they weren't very happy with that situation, the way the Barclaycard handled it, and the minister said that they would have fined them much more had they had the powers to do so.
So would a £2 million fine stop it?
Well, as I say, I think
Andy and Bridget and Hillary and all these other people, is that going to mean their phone's not going to ring silently anymore?
You know, in extreme circumstances, if companies really ride roughshod over the law, then they should get the book thrown at them. And there's simple things they can do, like send out a caller line identity to make sure that if you dial 1471, at least you can find out who it was, and that can alleviate some of the anxiety. Unfortunately, there are other problems like recorded message calls and voice over IP through the internet calls, which are completely untraceable. And we've already seen in America how the trend, as the costs of telephone calls go down, the volumes go up. You see, there's nothing to control it.
Well, what are you saying to your members then? Because it's not just the silent calls which are winding people up, it's also the other direct marketing calls as well. You know, people are settling down to tea, they're putting their children to bed.
I think direct marketing calls, service calls, I would hope done by Direct Marketing Association members, aren't really the big problems. There's quite a lot of debt collecting calls that people that perhaps don't even own the debt, and they're still getting calls. Unfortunately, direct marketing in itself is just a part of the problem. As I say, recorded message calls and voice over internet calls through the internet, through the broadband, they're only going to be increasing in the future. So it is a problem. Today's action, and this is only consultation, is at least an indication that the government and Ofcom and the regulators are interested in it and perhaps bringing focus back on attention to it again.
You're saying direct marketing isn't a problem, but we've got lots of people saying today, look, I just don't want any of these calls. I don't want any company phoning me in my home and so hectoring me, especially older people worried about
calls,
their parents.
Calls from perhaps a garage to say that your MOT is due, or from your opticians to say that. And some people, do act. Their telephone is a very good medium, and I'd like to see the day when the phone rings and your immediate reaction is, oh no, not another call. And back 20 years ago, when the number of calls were less and when they were done properly, I'd like to see that day. And I think there is a place again for the telephone and for marketing in the home. But as I say, unfortunately, it's muddied, the whole area is muddied with lots of people who aren't doing it properly.
We spoke to a campaigner earlier who said it's not just about the fine, it's about every time somebody gets an annoying call at home, they should ring the regulator, and the regulator should have a lower trigger point for investigating. Now, would that interfere, do you think, with the work that your companies are trying to do? Are you worried about increase of regulation in this area?
No, we welcome, and I noticed Kevin Brennan said today, that I interviewed him some years ago, and he said it's his constituents that come to him in surgeries that are complaining, and all the parties and all political parties are aware of the issue and recognise the distress that the consumers feel, and we're all trying to work together to do something about it. I think the level of fines is one plank along the road.
Okay, well, John Price from the Direct Marketing Association, thank you for coming. I think that idea of being able to trace the silent call is an interesting one, isn't it? You could phone them back and then hang up, get your own back.
I think that's how a lot of people feel.
Yeah, I think it is, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much indeed. Keep your emails and calls coming in on that and any other issue this morning. It is 8:15. Still